The Telecommunications Act of 1996 not only launched the internet, but Kim Scardino's career. The federal law was the first piece of legislation that addressed the internet, and Scardino has worked to keep it safe and accessible ever since. Scardino is a senior partnership manager at Apple, overseeing external engagement for the company's trust and safety team. A lawyer by trade, Scardino gained expertise on internet issues and policies through a number of positions across the public and private sectors. Before joining Apple, she worked for the who's who of the telecommunications industry: MCI, Verizon, Comcast, and the FCC. Her job titles may have changed, but her passion to ensure internet safety remains.
I quickly rose up to handle New York State regulatory issues for MCI. But when I first started, one of my first assignments was to actually make a bunch of binders for the arbitration. And even though I was a law school grad, I was like, okay, whatever's needed. I made the binders, and my manager at the time was like, you really did an amazing job with those binders. Would you want to take on this next project? So I feel like, just pitching in, doing whatever was needed when I first started, when I was a new lawyer for the company, really kind of set me on a good course. Plus I had an incredible mentor. I ended up working there for 8 years, went to the federal team in Washington, D.C. I had started in New York and went to Washington. And there I really gained the confidence of handling matters before the Federal Communications Commission, supporting a business unit. And it allowed me to then move on to other things. While I was at Comcast, I was really proud. I put together a bunch of partnerships with internet safety organizations to focus on, to help the consumers that were the users of Comcast service to feel safe online. I did that for a number of years and then ended up working for two of the nonprofits, Family Online Safety Institute and I Keep Safe, and really became very passionate about internet safety. I then went to work at the Federal Communications Commission because I felt like it was really important to get government experience and understand how regulations were made. Some of the work that I did at the FCC working on broadband for schools and libraries led me to Apple. And I've been here for over 8 years, and I've had a number of experiences, all handling external relationships, first with the education team, and then now for the trust and safety team, where I work on a lot of issues, including internet safety, which again is part of the thing that I've been working on for a number of years and I'm very passionate about. First of all, women make up half of the population, so there's no reason that women shouldn't be in leadership positions, the same number as men. Also, young women entering the workforce need to see a woman in a leadership position, and so do young men, because they need to see that there's really should be no difference between a woman and a man or a man in leadership. I believe that any table where decisions are being made, a woman should be there. She should have a seat at the table and be part of the conversation, because a woman brings a unique perspective to the conversation and the discussion, and it can only be more valuable. I mean, one of the things that at all the places I've ever worked, which I've been very fortunate enough, I've never felt like I didn't have a seat at the table, wasn't included in something. And I always try to pay it forward and make sure that every single thing that we do, that there are equal representation between men and women. First, get your education out of the way. Finish up your education. At the time when you're in it, you may think, this is completely overwhelming. I can't do all of this. And you can work while you're, in school, but finish it up. I have lots of friends that regret not finishing up their education. Second, I would say when you're given an opportunity to do something, do it well. Work very hard. Don't try to go to the shiny object that everybody else is working on and say, I want to be on that project. If you're given an opportunity to work on a project, just do it. When I first started working on internet safety issues, no one was working on it, where at the company I was at the time. And I just put my head down, did it well, and it became a very hot issue very fast. And I was able to be the expert on that issue. Next, I would say, set personal goals for yourself and stick with them. I evaluate where I am every year in January and September. In January, I say, okay, what do I want to achieve this year? And then I kind of course correct at the end of the summer, beginning of September. I'm like, okay, am I on track to what I said I wanted to do? So set those goals and really try to stay on course, because it's the reason you're setting the goal in the first place. I am a connector, and I will say I've gotten almost every single job because I knew people that knew other people. So really build a network along the way. The more people you know, the more people they know, the more opportunity you have. So stop and talk to people when you have an opportunity. When you go to an event, first of all, show up, go to the event. And secondly, when you're at the event, talk to one of the panelists, introduce yourself. You never know. What I think young people think about is, oh, well, I don't want to bother that person. No, people want to pay it forward. And they're always, if you can be top of mind to people when they are, when someone comes to them like, oh, I need an entry-level person for this position. If you were the one that had the last conversation with them, they will remember you and likely reach out. That happens all the time. The other piece of advice that I would say that wisdom that I've learned along the way that I wish I knew then is to be bold. Don't be afraid. I think I was a little bit tentative at times where I wish I were more bold. Go up, introduce yourself to somebody, go for something maybe that you're not 100% qualified for, apply for that job. I have a saying that I have in my house. I have a plaque that says, everything you want is on the other side of fear. I wish I weren't afraid. I wish I were more bold, had been a little bit more bold at times and just jumped in. And I would encourage you to do the same. Just be bold.